When you sign up at Work Money, you could win $50,000. With the average renter paying around $2,100 per month, that means you can have rent covered for a whole year and more. So you can be more. And when you're more, that means you get more. And more. Ooh, but not so much of that. Sign up at Work Money. Get money-saving tips. Skip the rent. Get more rich. Sign up at workmoney.org/more-rich contest for your chance to win $50,000.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Armchair Scouts. Today, we're breaking down everything you need to know to prepare for Week 7 of college football. Today, we're talking game of the week, Oregon versus Ohio State. I'm going to give you my Eagles draft target to know, and I'm going to give you my player prediction for the week. It is just me. So this is going to be a really quick show. So let's jump right into this thing. Let's talk about my top Eagles draft target to know. And if you're from the area, I know this is an Eagles podcast, but we're talking Penn State football. We're going to the Big Ten. We're talking Tyler Warren, a guy that came into the season ranked as my number 7 tight end in the class during my preseason rankings, playing much better than that initial ranking. Last week against UCLA, he caught his 17th touchdown pass of his career, the most of any Nittany Lion tight end in program history. Past current Pittsburgh Steeler Pat Freiermuth for the most receiving touchdowns by a tight end, man. Just an amazing career already for Tyler Warren, and we're just getting started. You look at Penn State as a program, especially since James Franklin took over in 2014. 5 Nittany Lions tight ends have been selected in the NFL draft. Tyler Warren has been quarterback Drew Aller's favorite target so far this season, leading the Nittany Lions with 23 receptions for 289 yards. That's 9 more receptions and 59 more yards than the team's second leading receiver, Harrison Wallace. Tyler Warren, probably not as explosive as Theo Johnson from last year. If you remember, that guy blew up the NFL draft combine with a 9.93 raw athletic score. But I think his route tree is much better, way more expansive. I think Tyler Warren is a much better run blocker. He's got legit versatility in his own right. He can line up anywhere on offense. We've seen him even throw a touchdown pass. I think Tyler Warren checks off a ton of boxes. If you're looking for a guy that can step right in year one as a tight end 2 with tight end 1 upside, Tyler Warren is your guy. I think he's a day 2 prospect, and I would 1,000% be down for Tyler Warren to the Philadelphia Eagles as a backup to Dallas Goedert. So keep an eye out for Tyler Warren, who's kind of the key cog to that Penn State offense. They go up against USC this week, so it could be a high-scoring affair. So make sure you know about Tyler Warren, who is turning a lot of heads. He is not underrated anymore. I think Theo Johnson was a 4th-round pick. I think this guy has even more upside at the next level. So Tyler Warren, that is the guy. Let's roll on to player prediction of the week. This is where I like to kind of go under the radar. And I'm going to give you an underrated prospect to know. We're talking, well, actually more Big Ten football. He is Ty Felton. He is a wide receiver, 6'2", 181 pounds, senior. He was held to less than 100 receiving yards for the first time this season last week, but he still caught all 5 of his targets. And he is breaking records in the Big Ten. He became just the 3rd Big Ten player since 1996 to start a season with 100 receiving yards in each of his first 4 games. He joins Garrett Wilson and Charles Rogers back of Michigan State in 2002. He is the second Terp to have 4 consecutive games with 100-plus receiving yards since Jermaine Lewis in 1994. This guy might be the most reliable receiver in college football. He's not dropped the pass this year, and he's posting a ridiculous 132.8 passer rating when targeted. Through 5 games, Ty Felton has 46 receptions, 242 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. He leads the Big Ten in receptions and receiving yards and is tied for 4th in receiving touchdowns. And both his reception and receiving yard numbers rank in the top 6 among all FBS wide receivers. So we've talked a lot on this program about, the big names like Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams and Trey Harris. But I think Ty Felton is an uber underrated receiver that has day 2 upside, top to bottom. He's got a wiry frame. He's got a good build. He's really explosive off the line of scrimmage, getting into open space, extremely creative after the catch, has no issue high pointing the football downfield. He's looking to become the first wideout from Maryland to be drafted since the Panthers selected DJ Moore back in 2018 in the first round. Maryland plays 2-3 Northwestern this week. Northwestern has lost 2 straight games, a 41-24 home loss, and then against number 23 Indiana last Saturday, and a 24-5 loss at Washington on September 21st. Meanwhile, the Maryland Terrapins have one of the college football's most underrated passing attack. They rank 12th in the country, 304.8 yards per game, and they're going up against the number 110th defense in that category in Northwestern. So expect Ty Felton to put up some big-time numbers there for the Maryland Terps. If you haven't heard of his name, now you know. So we'd like to cover big spectrum of guys here, and he's one of the more underrated wide receivers you need to know in this draft. And that leads us to our game of the week. And of course, no doubt about it, there's a lot of ranked matchups this week in week 7, but we're going to talk about Oregon versus Ohio State. And my, oh my, where do we begin? Let's start with Oregon. All right, let's start with Oregon. This is a team, this is one of the best offenses in college football, at least preseason wise, but it hasn't exactly clicked throughout the first 5-6 weeks of the season. Oregon has won its last 3 games by an average of 26 points. However, after winning its first 2 by 13 combined points, they do have a victory against now ranked Boise State. The Ducks have won 11 straight games at home, including last week's 31-10 victory over Michigan State. It's an offense that has now scored 31 points in 4 consecutive games, with Dylan Gabriel throwing 2 or more touchdowns in all 4 outings. And defensively, the Ducks are only giving up 162 passing yards per game. That's the 18th fewest in college football. You look at their biggest weakness coming into this season, it was their pass rush. But I think they got a guy that I think all Eagles fans should know, and he's arguably the best player on this Oregon defense. It is Jordan Burch, a defensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive tackle, guy that could play inside and out. He has been outstanding, especially last week. 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles, a fumble recovery in that win against Michigan State. He also had 4 tackles. Oregon's kind of becoming edge U. They've been pumping out some big names: Kayvon Thibodeau, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead. And you look at Jordan Burch after 5 games, he's probably going to be added to that list. He's got elite athleticism. He's got a lot of strength. This guy projects as one of the best run defenders for the edge position in the draft. He's got a lot of alignment flexibility, has all the physical tools that I think should absolutely crush the draft process. Look for Jordan Burch to become a day 2 selection and impact 3-down player at the next level. But we're not done there. Oregon has another great defensive player that you should know, first round, second round kind of guy, and he is Jabbar Muhammad, a cornerback for the Ducks, arguably one of the top cornerbacks in college football. He led all corners with 19 forced incompletions last year, 17 of those coming in single coverage. Not the biggest dude, 5'10", 180 pounds roughly, but he's got excellent burst. He's ultra competitive, plays a sticky brand of coverage. He does an excellent job utilizing high football IQ to stay in phase and the hip pocket of the wide receiver. When it comes to weaknesses, obviously he does not have the prototypical body and frame for an NFL corner. So concerns about handling bigger NFL receivers are going to be the main question mark heading into the draft process. He could stand to also improve his tackling. He had 13 missed tackles in 2023. So there is that. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about the Oregon offense being able to consistently put pressure on Ohio State's defense, which is outstanding. We've talked about Dylan Gabriel on this show, but I want to briefly touch on Tez Johnson, another wide receiver that I like a lot. One of the more dangerous wide receivers in college football with the ball in his hands. He doesn't have a lot of size, doesn't have a lot of weight, but he screams Tank Dell. And if you follow any of my shows during previous years, I was a huge fan of Tank Dell in the draft process. And he's just undeniably dynamic. He brings size-defying toughness, catching skills, much like Tank Dell did as a prospect. Elite body control and hand-eye coordination, hyper elite in terms of athleticism, and that especially shows after the catch. He's got rare speed, burst, and twitch. There's still room for Tez Johnson to kind of keep refining his skill set as a separator, but all the requisite building blocks are there. This guy's not going to be an elite contested catch threat. He'll never really provide much value as a run blocker, but I think he's going to be a dominant movement Z receiver at the next level in the right system. I think he has all the tools to be a transcendent 3-level threat as his size. Yet another guy that I think is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the 2025 draft. Keep an eye out for Tez Johnson. And let's roll on to Ohio State, who is absolutely loaded. I mean, that's like the biggest take about Ohio State. They don't really have a weakness. Is this the year for Ryan Day to finally get over the hump and deliver the Buckeyes their first national title since 2014? This team is perfect through 5 games, including a 2-0 start in Big Ten play. After weathering some struggles early on, they sit 4th best in the FBS in scoring offense, first nationally in scoring defense, allowing under a touchdown per game. And they're also averaging a ridiculous 222 rushing yards per game. That's the 14th most in the nation, led by Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Let's touch on these two. Obviously, they're kind of the big names of this offense. Judkins has fantastic vision at 6 foot, 220 pounds, amazing contact balance and explosiveness. He's literally impossible to arm tackle. He's kind of the thunder to Travion Henderson's lightning. He transferred, I believe, from drawing a blank. Oh my God. If you're watching us, please comment in the chat. But he's just an extremely special prospect with a legit shot to be RB1 right up there with Ashton Genty. Kind of saved some wear on the tires for Travion Henderson. And now let's go to the defense. I mean, no. Let's talk about, I think, one of the true stars of Ohio State's offense is true freshman Jeremiah Smith, who is already one of the best vertical threats in college football. He has been outstanding. Every single week, he seems to just blow away expectations, whether that's a 60-yard bomb or a one-handed catch in the end zone. Keep an eye out for Jeremiah Smith, who can take the top off of defense, elite athleticism. He seems to be the next one. You know, I'm not calling him Marvin Harrison Jr., but there's definitely, top 10 upside whenever he becomes draft eligible, probably 2027. This guy is as legit as possible. Arguably the best player on Ohio State has to be Caleb Downs. We're going to the defensive side of things. Caleb Downs was a transfer from Alabama, really arguably the best safety in college football, period. Caleb Downs has literally no weakness in his game. He was one of the biggest safety recruits last year out of high school, and he's lived up to the hype. Caleb Downs, I remember watching the tape of Alabama when we were looking at a lot of those guys, because if you're an Eagles fan, obviously you want to scout heavy on Alabama. And Caleb Downs was the guy that popped the most when watching tape. And then they also have another guy in Denzel Burke. I think I had a first-round grade on last year. Didn't declare for the draft. I was shocked he returned, like most Buckeyes, for the 2024 season. But Denzel Burke has really good size. He's a fluid mover, extremely quick feet. He's a twitched-up athlete. Definitely probably not a first-round guy. At this point, more of a second-round kind of draft pick at this time. And then if you're an Eagles fan and if you're looking for an edge rusher that can set the edge, doesn't have a lot of pass rush move set or pass rush repertoire, but Jack Sawyer is a guy that has a lot of tools, 6'5", 260 pounds, a guy that is excellent at, coming off the edge, stopping the run, and football IQ and motor are off the charts. Jack Sawyer has been dominant lately, especially. So those are some big names to watch out for. Guys, thank you everyone for watching. I want to kind of to get this in before the big Phillies game 4 in New York. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Eagles Pinpoint Network. We'll be back on Sunday for Eagles postgame live and halftime, of course. I am Deibs, Mr. Crockpot. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay awesome.